My name is Boom and I will be your host on this preview of the upcoming update, Fire and Ice. America is getting a new Abrams in the upcoming patch, the M1A2 SEP Service Extension Program, which does also have the additional option of mounting the Tactical Urban Survival Kit add-on armor, which does give you another coaxial 50 cal, some extra armor shielding around the machine guns on top, which of course in War Thunder won't really be needed because your infantry will not be poking out of the tank. But you do also get the addition of these rather thick ERA plates on the side skirts. Now, these will not exactly save you from APDS. They do give you a little bit of kinetic protection against solid shells, but they are mainly intended for heat shells, which you may or may not find at these at these battle ratings. We do have a pretty good thermal sight. This is about Gen 2, Gen 3, I would say. And this does also extend to the commander. Next up, we have a few of the Battle Pass vehicles to show for the next season of the Battle Pass. The first one being this, the A1H. This is going to be a premium. It is going to be in the next Battle Pass, and it is a Skyraider variant, as you can see by the shape. It is the first prop plane in the game with access to countermeasures. Apart from that, you also have access to a wide variety of ordnance options, a bunch of incendiary bombs. In fact, 2 types of them. If you want to have a bunch of these ones, you can even mix them with the bigger ones. And you can have 6 minigun gun pods. I'm going to take this thing out into a test flight as well, because yes, it does do the... Next up, Germany, we have another vehicle for the World War II fans. Die Sonderkraftfahrzeug 251-9 with the short-barreled 75mm cannon. In terms of penetration, it's not exactly the best. It is a short-barreled 75mm cannon, so you can't really expect too much in terms of velocity, but you do get access to a pretty powerful heat shell, which should be quite effective at these lower battle ratings. Additionally, we also have a model update for the Jagdpanthers, both the premium and the Tech 3 versions. These should look a lot crisper now in general. We also have a boat, the Type 152 Hugin, which does get 4 torpedoes in total, as well as these twin Bofors mounts, which have access to HEVT. Next up, we have, of course, the Russian models that I mentioned. The IS-1 and the IS-2 have gotten updated. Their visual models are much nicer, much crisper now. Overall, I believe these little flaps over here are new. This little machine gun port on the side is new. It is not functional. This machine gun is not functional, and it does not currently affect the armor. Keep in mind, work in progress. Things might change. And I'm sorry if I mispronounce this. Bosfark. Bosfark? Is that how I pronounce it? This is a South African vehicle. Another South African vehicle. Twin 23mm cannons. Very high fire rate, which does mean you are going to run out of clips pretty quickly. Next up, we have the... well, are you ready for the fire, lads? Yes. A new type of vehicle coming to the game is flamethrower tanks. Yes. The Churchill Crocodile is coming as part of the upcoming Battle Pass. This is going to be a Battle Pass of rewards, and it is the first flamethrower tank in the game. And yes, you can indeed use the flamethrower. Churchill Crocodile, of course, famously had a attached trailer. This is where the fuel is actually stored. You can destroy the fuel tank, but it will not damage either the Churchill, given that it's very far away and the Churchill has a lot of armor, nor will it damage any of the tanks that are around the trailer. It's purely for visual effects. But other than that, let's take it into a test drive real quick, and I can show you what you can do with the flamethrowers. Now, the flame physics are going to be quite similar to napalm. You can actually launch these quite far. If I go all the way up, got a nice little arc, very good pressure on that nozzle. Okay, and by fire I mean you can launch up to that river over there. It's not exactly the most long range, and you can't really do anything with the flames against a closed vehicle, like for example that Panzer II. it won't do much, if anything, to them. But if you have something like the Dead AA gun or anything that has an open exposed crew, against those, the flamethrower can be quite effective. The flames do stick around on the ground, so there is a bit of an afterburn effect, which means that vehicles that run through those flames will also get damaged. Okay, this is the maximum elevation that we can go. And it is quite a nice arc. Japan got quite a bit of love in this patch, starting off with a premium jet. Japan is getting the T2 early in the upcoming patch. It is virtually identical to the T2 you already know and love. Rank 6 premium jet, so this will be effective in helping boost your research in the top tiers of Japan. And it has access to the same loadouts. With AIM-9Es, you can carry bombs, you can carry Zunis, you can carry Mighty Mouses. Of course, as it is a new plane, it does have access to the custom loadout mechanic, which means you can mix and match things to your heart's desire if you so wish. You may know the Fuso. You may know the memes surrounding the Fuso. You may understand now why those memes apply. That's a very tall tower. This is the Fuso, the newest tech tree battleship for the Japanese. It has access to 12 36 centimeter cannons, 360 millimeter cannons with the following shells. SAP, probably your best choice. Very high powered AP and of course HE as well.
Вот, что я, собственно, хотел показать. Вот новая фича, да, расширенное описание модулей. Мы наводимся и, соответственно, более полное описание.
Curious, what is that? Could it be perhaps the prototype of the Type 10? That may or may not come in the next update to flesh out the Japanese lineups? It's going to be basically a Type 10 with a dildo blade. This is the Tor M1. You can expect to see this vehicle coming to the USSR in the future, just maybe not in this update. This is one of the most advanced SAM launchers that we have in this game once it releases. It has these very funky missiles here, 8 in total with no reloads, which fire upwards and then turn to acquire the target. As you can see, when I fire the missile, it does that, which means you can't exactly hit targets directly in front of you. Italy is getting a nice, kind of lowish tier boy. The AS-42-47, we already have the chassis in the game in form of the AS-42 with the 20mm anti-aircraft mount. We're also getting the 47mm cannon mount, which will allow you to zoom around quite quickly, given the mobility of the chassis. And with some okay penetration, not the best. This is about the levels of the short 75 we saw on the 251 in the German tech tree. Next up, we have France, which is also getting a sorely needed update to their anti-air capabilities with the Santal. This is a armored car with a 6-barreled IR missile launcher. Kind of an analog to the Stinger, although the French version may be slightly better, as you can see by these stats. This will work quite effectively against helicopters, relatively effectively against jets who are not aware of your presence. Keep in mind, of course, these missiles will not have the highest G pull, so evading jets will be able to evade these missiles quite effectively. But with a 6-kilometer range in all aspects, this should help France a lot in keeping their skies clear overall. Finland is coming to the game as a subtree for Sweden, which is going to make the Swedes quite powerful, I have to say. So, it's not only tanks, but also aircraft, all at the same time. Let's start off with tanks, shall we? We are also going to have the BT-42 sometime in the future. I know there's a vehicle that has been requested for a long time by the community. It is just not quite ready yet, and we're not sure we will have it ready for this update, but you can expect the BT-42 in the future. Starting off with the 2A6, this is going to be a nice lineup filler together with the already pretty strong SDRV 122A and B PLSS. In fact, Together with also, you may have seen, new squadron vehicle, Swedish top tier is going to be incredibly well filled and very well rounded, having access to now both USSR tanks and NATO tanks in the same lineup. 2A4? Not much to say, this is basically a copy of the German 2A4. T-72M1, this is going to be interesting, so you can literally have a Leopard and a T-72 in the same lineup, which is going to be very useful, very versatile, brings you the best of both worlds. The modifications are the same as you can expect on the Russian ones. 9.3 with freebie M22 is alright, not the worst. You have a dozer blade, you don't have thermal vision. You do have a laser rangefinder, which is very useful for longer range engagements, which will also automatically adjust your sight zeroing. But mobility is still mediocre with decent top speed at the front, but very bad reverse speed. However, with some decent armor on the turret. Also, in the Finnish air tree, technically, but actually a Swedish plane. The Hunter is coming to the Swedish air tree. Finally, a Swedish Hunter. J34, this one is currently a battle rating 9.3, again keep in mind, work in progress, for 30mm Aiden cannons and access to 2 RB-24s. These missiles are equivalent to the American AIM-9Bs, so don't expect too much out of them. They don't pull very hard, so any kind of enemy who is aware of your launch will easily evade them. But you can use these at longer ranges against enemies who are not aware of your presence, which the Hunter tends to be quite good at, given that it has to fly low and fast. Of course, you don't get any countermeasures, so once again, this is going to be in the same territory-ish as the T2, T2 being much faster, where you are rather susceptible to incoming missiles, even more so on the Hunter, which can't really pull high Gs sustainedly. We also have a proper Finnish vampire with a nice little goose decal here at the front. We have a few additions to also SPAA, which I can show you here. The ZSU 57-2 is also coming to the Swedish lineup. JU-88 also in Finnish colors. We got the Fokker D21. This has also been one that people have been waiting for a long time. We had it before, of course. There is a premium event, Fokker D21, but you can also get one for the tech tree now. Main difference being that the premium one did have 20mm cannons. The tech tree one does not. Instead, it gets 4 7.7mm machine guns. It's a pretty low tier vehicle, should be just fine. And of course, you have seen it, the Swedish T80U. This is the newest squadron vehicle coming in the next update, where now you can have a improved Leopard 2 with the SDRV 122 PLSS. You can have some very effective anti-air weapons. You can have another 2A6 in the Swedish section. You can have a light vehicle with scouting functions and a recon drone with thermal vision. And you can have a Soviet T80U all in the same lineup. I can also show you the lineup for the planes. There are a few extra here that I can't show you just yet, but you can look at their positions in the tech tree. All the way up to a MiG-21 Biz. Should be interesting, huh? I do want to show you 2 new maps that we have. One for aircraft, one for grounds. Okay. This is how the map looks. It seems pretty flat, but you do have plenty of ways of sneaking around with these lower sides over here. I'm going to launch my recon drone as soon as that is available to show you also how it looks from the air. Now, you see some new options on the bottom. These are new quality of life improvements to the drone. Firstly, the camera of the drone is no longer in the nose. It is now mounted under the fuselage, which should allow you to keep track and lock off enemy tanks a bit easier. And one of the major complaints that people made when these recon drones were first launched is that when you had to go back to the vehicle, they just kept flying in a straight line. You now have the toggleable option of putting the drone into a sort of loiter mode. Boop. Hands off, the drone will now automatically and autonomously circle around the battlefield in a rather wide fashion.
Соответственно, вот можно как бы смотреть, найти цель, И все это время, соответственно, вот беспилотник будет летать, да, то оптика будет, соответственно, в эту сторону смотреть.
The famous Grand Canyon in America will now be coming and be featured as a playable map. It is a very, very beautiful map. I doubt it'll come to realistic mode in this update, but personally I would really like this to be in RB modes. This canyon is going to make it quite tactically interesting. All right, Israel up until now didn't really have many options for aircraft defense. Well, that is about to change, because now Israel is going to get free new anti-aircraft weapons across various battle ratings. Sadly, no SAM just yet, maybe sometime in the future. But at the lower tier, we have this rather unique one. This is basically the venerable old American chassis, which you can find on the M13 and M16 anti-aircraft weapons in the American tech tree, which feature 50 cars, but with two 20mm cannons instead. Next up, we also have the ZSU 57-2, same as in the Soviet and now the Finnish tech trees as well. Again, this is actually more of a tank destroyer in my opinion than an SPAA. Whilst you can use it against SPAA, this is not like the Chinese version which has HEVT shells. This is purely a ZSU 57, which is still quite effective against lower armored vehicles with a rather high penetration APHE shell with 151mm and a bit of explosive filler, which is going to make it quite useful against early Leopards and the likes. And you also get a better SPAA, radar SPAA than the M163 variant that's thankfully driving around in the background, the ZSU 23-4. Also, nothing special or unique about this particular variant, but it's going to be a sorely needed upgrade to the anti-air capabilities of the Israel tech tree.